Ready? Can you hear me behind that? When a man knows where he goes to, all of the world draws aside to let him pass through. Sir Bertrand Russell. Madame Judith Macgregor, British Ambassador to Mexico. Dear fellow alumni of the University of Oxford, ladies and gentlemen, to achieve a Master of Science degree at such a marvelous university as ours is, was an impossible dream for a young man like me in 1966. It was, I certainly achieved it, but it was not that easy for me. I had to pay a very high price, as I had to face very difficult setbacks, frustrations, just before it was about to come true. This is my story. In 1972, I graduated as a mechanical engineer here at the University of Michoacan in Mexico. And at the same time, I started to send applications to universities of England and France, hoping to be accepted there. But unfortunately, I failed in every one of those 20 attempts. I got so frustrated, and it was the same story during almost 4 years. I was about to quit, but by the end of 1975, very negative thoughts invaded my mind and doubted about my real possibilities to be successful. But in any way, I recovered my positive thinking, and I continued persevering and sent another set of applications, and one of them was to the University of Oxford. I then knew that it was one of the best universities all over the world, so I thought it was going to be too difficult, if not impossible, to be accepted there. But in any way, I insisted. However, in July 1976, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I received a letter from England telling me that I had already been accepted at the University of Oxford. When I only remember that, I get so excited, just as I did at that marvelous moment. I am now very excited about that. In the letter, they asked me to be on September the 28th that year to dining hall at Exeter College, my future college, my present college. But after I recovered myself from that marvelous surprise, I realized as a first setback that I didn't have any scholarship to financially support me there. What I decided was to use my own savings, which of course were not too much and not enough to be in England during 2 years. But in any way, I thought that nothing was going to prevent me from fulfilling my dream. But there were still another set of blows against me and my dream, and the next one was that just before I changed my money to dollars, a significant devaluation of the peso occurred, and my money was reduced to almost half its original value in dollars. I really trembled and cried out, literally cried out. It was a tragedy for me. But what I did was to go to the National Science and Technology Council of Mexico to apply for a scholarship, hoping to be approved in their next November meeting. But approval could not be given for sure. But there was still another bitter event waiting for me. An old injury in my spine got so worse than ever before. The pain was so intense that I couldn't even stand up for a few minutes. Once again, I trembled, cried out again, and got so nervous because the date for departure to England was approaching. I really prayed and asked God to relieve me from such terrible pain. And I thought He heard me because just a few days, 3 days or so, before the day for departure, the pain finally disappeared. But that was not enough. As my wife was pregnant and waiting to give birth to our first son, who was supposed to be born by the end of October that year, and so the living expenses would be highly increased. As you know how much a baby spends. That was, I decided not to be defeated in any way, and in such conditions I went to England. And until I was there, I realized about the enormous challenge I was facing out at the University of Oxford. I felt as if I were enclosed in a cage with a tiger, a hungry tiger. But things became better as 3 weeks after my son was born, the National Science and Technology Council approved my scholarship. So, as we said in Mexico, he brought his sandwich under his arm. A very big sandwich. I thought God rewarded me for being perseverant. Perhaps he told me, as you know where you want to go to, I ordered the world to let you pass through. And that's fine, since I thought that the sun then illuminated my way. The storm was over, and since then, everything was good news. And I graduated as a Master of Science at the University of Oxford. And so, my impossible dream came true.
This is a hiatus I urged. While we're waiting for the dessert to be served, ya estamos listos, por favor. Can you hear me there? Well, look, may I just take this opportunity to say 1 or 2 thank yous, because we have 1 or 2 more speeches later. But I want, on your behalf, to thank the people who've been responsible for organising this evening's dinner. It's been a job shared by several people, but above all by Rosendo, who we've just heard, and above all the lion's share by Javier Lezama, who has done a terrific job. I don't know how his employers have been able to overlook this, but thank you so much, Javier, and with the grateful help too of Daniela at his side. Thank you very much, Daniela. They haven't served it yet, have they? No. And thank you all very much for coming, because I know that this is the second day of Holy Week, and a lot of people said, well, we can't possibly come this week because it's Holy Week. What on earth are you organising it on this day? Well, we had no choice, but thank you all very much for being here. I have a commercial.